This video is brought to you by Squarespace. From your own art portfolio to your very own shop, make it with Squarespace. Ever since the start of Year of the Crayon, I have got so many requests to try these amazingly expensive and super awesome crayons, Caran. Y'all have really hyped them up, so they better be amazing. Let's get into it. They come in this fancy red tin. Let's open them up. So simple, so sleek. They come nicely buffered with that foam at the top. Here is our crayon. Oh, wait. That's really interesting. It looks like there are ways to peel away your crayon to, I guess, sharpen it, not have to deal with like peeling it away yourself. There's these like little tabs that you can grab on and peel away. That's really interesting. Very cute. This is our scarlet red. Fancy, fancy. Y'all know what time it is. Time to swatch. I'll start off by just swatching our colors to see what they look like as normal crayons, because honestly that's how I'm interested in using them. And then we will add water and see how they melt away. I've heard a lot of really good things about these crayons in that they are super pigmented and just like the best ever and really awesome. They do have a very good feeling. I do appreciate the way they feel. You get a really nice flat of color. I can appreciate that. There are crumbs, but there's not a lot of crumbs. Colors are nice and colorful. We've got lots of pigmentation. I will also go ahead and mention the price. For a pack of these 10 crayons, you'll be looking at about $26 US, which is $2.60 per crayon. And it would have taken the spot for the most expensive crayon on our crayon chart. I'll admit, I was really tempted to pick up the 40 pack of these crayons because, you know, the more colors, the better. But it would have ran me $85 for a 40 pack, and I couldn't get myself to do it. Look at this white, sure is white. Let's do a little water test here and see how they are. This test is great and all, but as you can see, I'm kind of leaving the realm of crayons and entering the realm of watercolor crayon, you know? So there you have it. Here are our watered down crayons, but I do want to do a nice, I guess, gradient test with a rainbow as usual. So as they are dry, I really enjoyed their blending process, but I'm curious what happens when we add water. That is quite the smooth and very appealing. Ooh, am I gonna make a rainbow? I mean, rainbows are a common theme in my crayon illustrations, so let's do a little bit of brainstorming, a little bit of sketching, and doodle something. Actually, I did one more test. When I do my crayon illustrations, I like to use colored pencil to line it. So I did 3 tests here. First test, I put the crayon down first and then put pencil on top. For this one, I put the pencil down first and then did a messy watercolor. And on this one, I did the pencil, crayon inside, and then watered it down to even out. And honestly, because it's a little hard to use pencil on top of crayon, I think my favorite is putting down the line work first and then the watercolor on top. There was a little bit of bleeding, but I think if I'm a little careful about it, that is the cleanest, best way to go about it. So that is that test. Before we get into that good art, I want to give a huge thank you to the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. If you're an artist and if you're watching this video, you probably are, you need a dang art portfolio, somewhere to put all of your wonderful art. And what better place to make your own portfolio or gallery than Squarespace? And Squarespace makes that super easy. You just use one of their templates and you're ready to go. Are you a big dum-dum like me and you don't know how to make a website? Well, now you can with Squarespace. It's super easy. Connect all of your social media accounts. It's super convenient to have everything in just one little place. And of course, you can sell your art online. Look at my shop. Isn't it cute? Isn't it great? You can buy stuff. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial. When you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/KaseyGolden to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Get yourself a gallery, get yourself a shop. While you do that, I'm gonna make some more art. I'm not gonna lie. This is like my 4th time trying to draw something for this video. Shout out to the patrons who are seeing all of those bad sketches. At this point, I think I just want to go so silly, it's ridiculous. Okay, we have a cat. Does he have a neck, or I'm just gonna go in with the, you know what? All right, okay, we have our of our kitty cat. It's just floating there, you know, super cute, it's floating. You know how I said I wanted to make a rainbow because I always make a rainbow when I do crayon stuff? Yeah, so about that rainbow. And you know what? Let's throw that cat in space and let's do a framed space. We'll make it like clouds because why not? Do we need a planet or two? Let's do a couple of planets just to fill in the area. Sometimes you just have to draw a cat farting in space and not ask any questions. You know, the year 2021 isn't over yet. There's still time for me to create my best work this year yet. This could be it. This could definitely be it. All right, we have our silly, oh my God, rainbow farting space cat lined and ready to go. I'm really kind of excited to blend these just because they blended really well. I'm gonna try to use them as much like crayons as I can for everything else, but space and the rainbow, I kind of wanna blend them. I want to blend them a lot. Let's go ahead and start with our background. Oh boy. So because I'm going to water these down, I guess I could just get really scribbly with it and the water can be what makes it smooth and tidy, right? I think that's how this works, maybe. One thing that I do like to do when I do watercolor is I like space normally to be a very dark, sort of violet-y color. It makes it a lot more fun than just having like a black space. So I do want to have this purple sort of fade away and just add some color to it. Okay, so I've got a little splash of purple. Let's go through with our black and make sure that, you know, we don't want space to be too colorful, do we? No. I'm realizing this is going to be so experimental and I am both scared and excited. We'll have this mix in with the purple too, that'll be fun. I don't want these colors to be super vivid because it is space. You do want it to still have that sort of like marbly, warbly sort of blackness mixed with color look. You don't want it to just be a splash of painted color in the middle of nowhere. But I do want it to be colorful. So I'm trying to find that sort of balance between adding black and color, but I also don't know because I'm so unfamiliar with this art supply. I don't know how much that black is going to bleed into the color and take over. I'm scared. Here we go. Let's just jump into it. Let's just start on one side and just jump into it. Oh my gosh, that is so black. Okay. You really don't need a lot of the pigment to get a nice spread of the flat color. That being said, I'm terrified that I used maybe too much. We'll see. I do like a crayon texture though, so I'm a little torn. You know, the watercolor lover inside of me is like, wow, this is smooth and I love it. On the other side, I do love the texture of crayon, and so I'm kind of like, oh no, do I love this or hate this? I don't know. Oh wow, okay, so this is mixing really well. The black with the purple looks really super cool. I am loving that so far. So I want to try to add a little bit of extra space texture. I don't know if you noticed over here, it's looking a little bit lighter. I thought that looked really cool. Honestly, I was just trying to pick up some extra water that I put down, but I thought it made a really cool space texture. So I'm going to put down some water here, and then I'm going to take this tissue and just go boop, and hope that it kind of makes a space texture. Ooh, we're getting into mixing the blue and I think it looks really good. Just looks so deep and nice. Also it blends in really well with the line art color, which is nice. All right, one last tissue bop. Boop. All right, so with our space mostly done, there's a few areas I feel like I need to go back and maybe add a little bit of black because maybe I took away a little too much for my liking. So I'm gonna add a little bit here, maybe a little bit here. I also feel like with watercolor, you know, you don't want there to be areas where it dries and you can see that. But I think with space, it kind of helps give that spacey look. So maybe like the sloppier your watercolor is, sometimes the better with space. I am using mixed media paper, not watercolor paper, so I'm a little concerned about my paper. It looks like it might be falling apart a little bit, but I think we'll be okay. All right, next thing is to color the rainbow. Here we go. I can't tell if I am most excited about the rainbow or the space. I really love coloring space, but I also really love blending rainbows with crayons. It's probably one of my favorite things to do. I always worry about yellow when I do rainbows. Yellow is the easiest, basically erased color from existence when you do blending rainbows together. The green takes over it, the orange takes over it, and it just becomes this like orange to green row. Moving on to our blue. I think one of my favorite gradients ever is blue to green. It's just so pretty. I love it. I actually really like the way, oh wait a second, hold on. Do I like it unblended in contrast to our space? I mean, I'll blend them dry, but I'm kind of liking the contrast between our space element being really blended and textured in that way, and our rainbow really stands out not being blended. Now I have to think about this. Let's just go for it. Let's blend it. Okay, here's the test if I added, oh gosh, enough yellow. Look at that green, look at the way it just takes over the yellow. That's what I was afraid of, which is why I added so much yellow compared to the green. All right, here is our blended rainbow. I'll admit my green to yellow does need a little bit of work. However, it looks pretty good. I do love the crayon texture though, so I do really miss that. But you know, we're messing with watercolor crayons. Let's go full watercolor crayon. I've decided I don't like how plain this corner is, so I'm adding another meteor. And another one. And another one? Okay, one more. All right, that's enough. JK, here's one more. In the spirit of using these crayons as watercolor, I thought I would continue by, well, using them like watercolor. So I got some of the crayon in this palette, added some water, and yeah, I guess I'm coloring away. But like I said, I just thought it would be nice if the color from the rainbow in the space is what was really jumping out at you, and just added the pop of color we needed. Plus, I really liked the way the cat was popping off of that space when it was really light colored. I didn't want to leave it white, but I didn't want to add too much color to it. So I figured just adding a little bit of gray, maybe some stripes would be the best option. Even though I'm not getting that crayon texture that I really love and enjoy with traditional dry use of crayons, I'm getting this like sort of rough watercolor texture, which I'm super into. So I guess it's sort of a trade-off. Instead of getting our crayon texture, I'm getting a rough watercolor texture, which is still really fun. It's just not the traditional use of crayons that I use crayons for. Okay, I also need to add little pink cheeks to our guy here. Of course. He needs a little bit of a pop of color. Aw, look at him. So cute. And for our final detail, I really want to make some stars using purely the white crayon on its own. We haven't really used the crayons as crayons yet, and I think this is time for our white crayon to shine. Just going to dip the tip in some water to soften it. And I should probably do a test before I jump in here, but here we go. Whoa! Okay, I'm shook. All right, I used a pencil sharpener and sharpened it to be a little bit more of a tip for our stars. Honestly, adding little white details like stars to a crayon illustration is something I always felt like I couldn't do because it's so hard to layer other things on top of crayons. So I can definitely see how these water-soluble crayons can be really useful when adding, I don't know, highlights or like little small details like this. Even line work, if you could keep it wet somehow. Little stars like these and just little clusters of details are really useful when you want to distract your viewer from imperfections. So if there are areas like, for example, in my space that aren't exactly how I want them, or they just don't look right, adding little clusters of stars in those areas is really good for covering that up. There's just so many little details and you get distracted by looking at those and you don't even notice. the parts of the illustration that you don't really care for. I will say my one complaint about this, I guess, technique is that the layer of water and activated crayon doesn't go very deep on the crayon. You dip it and you get a few stars in and then you have to re-dip it again. So there's a lot of re-dipping, but look at this. This is amazing. This tiny little dot detail that you can get with crayon that you can't get if it weren't wet. That's really nice, and I do appreciate that. I'll admit I really did enjoy using these watercolor crayons. I'm gonna call them watercolor crayons because let's be honest, they are. They're super smooth, minimal dusting, very high quality. As a watercolor, they're very nice as well. But in general, it just doesn't have that, I guess, childish crayon vibe that I have been using crayons for. I like the texture, I like the messiness, I like the sort of low pressure feeling of using a $2 crayon. And by $2 I mean per pack, not a crayon. So I kind of feel like using professional crayons, it kind of takes that away from using crayons, and I just feel like I am pressured to use these as an art supply. I barely even use them as a crayon texture, and in general, I think as much as I liked using them, I would rather just use my watercolors, and then also I would rather just use crayons. All that being said, I had a lot of fun creating this rainbow butt cat in space, which I'm just now realizing is Neon Cat minus the Pop-Tart. Very, very original, Kasey. I liked them, but I don't think professional crayons are for me, and that's okay. A huge thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Get out there and make yourself a website. And thank you guys so much for watching this video. See you in the next one. Bye.